So today I am going to get myself set up here. I have a little cup of slip, which I will explain in a moment. I'm stirring it up first with a paintbrush because the clay slip settles a little bit over time. And everything I create is going to be created on this clay mat. I also have my iPad out with my image of my practice sculpture so that I can see it. You can bring up your practice sculpture or you can bring up any of the image references that are the most helpful for you. Now I'm going ahead and I'm sculpting out my snail based on the image that I'm looking at. The expectation is that we have a high level of detail to really best describe a symbol that expresses something about you. So I'm using my various clay tools to help me sculpt and get my snail on there. You can see that I'm rolling coils, I'm pinching, and I'm using the various clay tools to help me get a very smooth and detailed work of art. Once I'm done, I'm going to need to attach any of these pieces together that I want to stick together. For me, I have the snail shell sitting on top of the snail's body, and so here you can see me doing a method called scratch and attach. Okay, let me show you that one more time because scratching and attaching is really important. So any pieces that I need to stick together, whether that's the lines on a basketball or a volleyball or a soccer ball, I need to scratch and attach any two separate clay pieces together. So I'm scratching it here and the goal is to create like a fuzzy texture of the clay. And then once I have that, I'm gonna add my slip. You can think of the slip like glue. It's basically watered down clay that I'm really pressing into. I'm pressing it to kind of stick together my two clay pieces, and I'm smoothing it out. You really want to smudge and smooth out that clay like you see me doing here. This will make sure your pieces are securely attached. If you do not do this, as it dries, your pieces will fall apart, and then you will not have a sculpture. So you really want to make sure that you're scratching and attaching. Again, now I'm going back in and I'm adding my high level of detail. I'm getting the texture lines on my snail, on the shell, and any other details that kind of came off in the process of scratching and attaching. I'm going back in and perfecting that. Again, the expectation for this part of the project is that you have a high level of detail to really show a symbol that represents a part of your identity. Once you feel good about that, it's probably time to clean up. And so let's take a look at how we're going to save this for next class. If this is day one of clay for your class, you are going to put your little sculpture inside of the container. Everybody at your table is going to place their sculpture inside of this container, and then I'll come around and I'll spray it to keep it moist, and then we will wrap it up with a plastic bag, which you'll see me do here in a moment. And this is so that you can have your clay sculpture ready to go for whenever we have our bowl molds ready. If this is day 2 of clay for your class, you probably already have your bowl made, and now it is time to attach your sculpture inside the bowl. Find a creative space for it. Find a place where we can really see all the beautiful details on your sculpture. Here, again, the technique is no different. If you need to attach 2 pieces of clay together, you must scratch and attach. So I'm figuring out where I need to place this, and I'm scratching both the bowl, making sure not to go all the way through, and the bottom of my snail. And then in a moment, you'll see me go ahead and add slip and carefully add that on. As you do this, again, you might lose some details in the process, so you may need to go back and just fix it up a little bit. I'm pressing it on and making sure it's securely attached by smudging the clay in the pieces or in the places where the bowl and the sculpture are touching. I'm really making sure it's securely on. I do not want this to pop off. And once that's on, then we are going to gently wrap our piece back up, making sure, of course, not to damage the sculpture that you just created. And as I am placing my plastic back onto my bowl, you're going to see me covering it very lightly. It is okay. It's actually needed for a little bit of airflow to come in so that your piece can be a little bit hard. So I'm very gently covering it. I want this to begin drying out. So again, I'm just very gently covering the bowl here. Next time I see you, the bowls will be out of the mold, and then we will start to use our subtractive sculpting method on the bottom of the bowl.